Grab your favorite beverage. It's time for Porch Therapy with Edward Dino and Keith Villery. Edward, another podcast.
It's great to be here, Keith.
It is good. It's good to be here. We're in Covington today at a different porch.
Not because there's been any threats or anything.
No, thank God, no threats. But there's so much going on right now in the United States and in the whole political scene. And I guess the biggest thing happening right now is that the government is shut down.
The government, everyone's talking about the government shutting down because of not being able to adopt a budget. No one's mentioning that if they adopt the budget, it's still shut down because they won't swear in. They won't swear in a Democratic newly elected person.
That is incredibly outrageous.
The Congress, the House will not come back into session. So the government's basically shut down because of Jeffrey Epstein and the FBI files.
Yeah.
Because Mike Johnson won't bring them back in to vote.
He's afraid to bring them back into session to talk about anything. Because if they change it, it's like, well, let's see, are they negotiating? No negotiation. You either pass it or you don't pass it.
Well, we could pass it, and the government would still be shut down because they don't want to bring the House in to vote on it.
Yeah, the House can't open again because they don't want to have the 218th person or whatever.
They don't want to have to. They don't want to vote on releasing the files,
right.
And there will be enough votes to force that. So the House is shut down.
The House is shut down. It's been shut down for maybe 3 weeks and it's still going to be shut down for another week. And they get paid. Everybody else doesn't get paid, but the House of Representatives still get paid. I actually was on I got a call yesterday from Steve Scalise, and he was doing one of these town hall on the telephone. And of course, if you want to say anything contrary to what his beliefs are, they don't put you on the call. And so everybody that went on was like, Steve, you're doing a great job. You're doing a wonderful job. And then he has these polls that, it's almost hard to vote against them even. It's like, well, yeah. Like things like, do you think we should put people who break the law in jail? It's like, yeah, well, I think most people believe that. Anyway, so I was on, I just couldn't take it. I listened to it for about 10 minutes, and the bullshit was just so deep, I just couldn't take it. So I hung up. And they called me, they patched me in and said, would you like to ask Congressman Scalise a question? And I said, yeah, I just want to say that he's doing such a great job because those are the only people that are getting on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't take it. I couldn't outlast them. Anyway. So that's his town hall meetings. They're on telephone. They're completely controlled. Only his friends get through. There's nothing contrary. There's no debate. And it's all about giving Medicaid money to illegal immigrants. That's all. That's what it's all about.
That politically has to come back to bite them. You can't insulate yourself from the public like that and think that somehow you can put some slick ads on and all of that.
Well, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is feeling the heat. She is coming out saying, whoa, wait a minute. And I think that, she's from a very rural district. And I'm guessing that she's got quite a few people that are going to be affected by the increase in the Affordable Care Act.
Well, she said the reason she was changing was because they were going to double her 2 adult children's premiums. Now, there's someone that is really dedicated to their philosophy.
Yeah, right.
When they'll make a 180-degree turn because their kids' insurance
well,
go
and
up.
They asked her, why did you vote for it? And she was like,
Well,
I support the president. Yeah, she supports the president.
Yeah, she's in a tough spot.
She is in a tough spot. And she's got a guy running against her. I have notes here, but she has a guy running against her who is a cattleman from Northwest Georgia who spent, I think, 40 years in the military. And he's a Democrat. And he's running against her. And I think she's feeling that pressure.
She might
well.
be, but it's unfortunate that, like, for instance, we've had people like that run for Senate in Louisiana
Yeah.
and couldn't get traction. there were some fabulous Democratic candidates that ran against that nut over in Lafayette, Clay Higgins, who, by the way, is from here. He's from Covington.
I know he is. His sister, yeah, I know her.
So, yeah, great gal. But somehow, that doesn't resonate. I mean,
well, you talk about Louisiana. There's a big issue coming up with Louisiana and the gerrymandering and the district that could set policy for the country, which could be very harmful to Democrats.
Yeah, it's in the Supreme Court right
in
now.
the future, not just this election,
Right.
but going forward. And they seem like they want to give Trump every bit of ammunition they can. Supreme Court's been so that's happening right now.
Keith, I was thinking about that today. What's going on right now is that you've got the Supreme Court, who's pretty much allowing authoritarianism.
Yeah.
You've got the executive, who is the authoritarian, and you've got half of Congress that is just non-functional. I mean, the House, when they do something, it's certainly to bend over for Trump. And it's the people. It's actually the people that are stopping it from going completely.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, it's grand juries that won't indict. I mean, it's big crowds that show up to protest.
Yeah.
It's people that are supporting citizens that have been abducted by ICE. It's the people that are really the buffer that are saving things, and hopefully it'll be the people in the midterms that come out and continue that effort.
I mean, look, in the presidential election, there was still 75 million people who voted against Trump. Mm-hmm. He's got this mandate. It's like, well, your mandate was about 4 million people, and I don't think that was a mandate. But still, I'm just amazed that a guy who was married how many times? 3, cheated on each wife. Maybe not. Well, even the last one with a porn star, had 5 kids with 3 wives, had 20 some odd women accuse him of sexual issues. One of them actually got a judgment against him for sexual abuse. So, and he's still Christian. And he's still leader of the Christian party, I would say.
But he's beginning to, I think he says he's worried about whether he'll go to heaven or not.
I saw that a couple of times.
I mean, I mean, somehow, if he was a true Christian, he'd know that he's saved, right?
Yeah, once you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't think he's done that.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think maybe that's the problem.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about polling by groups. How does the president's approval rating vary by groups? This is a relatively recent poll. This one is white, Hispanic, and black. This is very small print, so I'm gonna have to
that's an interesting.
The white was 40%. The 49%.
Yeah.
Hispanics are 31%, and blacks are 15%. What share of Americans approve of the president's handling of the economy? 34%. What share of Americans approve of the president's immigration policies? 41%. Trump's net approval rating since returning to office, he's got immigration he's 9% underwater. Overall performance, he's 18% underwater. The economy, he's 21% underwater. And that's his big deals, immigration, economy. So, a poll is a poll. We won't know anything until the midterms, if we make it to the midterms. I mean, what he's doing right now, ICE is out there throwing tear gas and smoke bombs and shooting priests in the head with these pellets. I don't know what they even have in them there. And 58% of Americans oppose the militarization law enforcement that he's doing.
Yeah.
And then you've got this shutdown of government for the reason that that the people that are the working people who actually have insurance through the Affordable Care Act
Mm-hmm.
were getting some help because they couldn't afford insurance premiums, and now the premiums are going to go way up, and that's why we're shut down. And so I think that's a whole segment of his people
The
that
thing,
are pissed off.
yeah, that's right, and it could be a game changer. I think I think comparisons to now in 2018 are not valid. When I think people say, "Oh, well, there was a big Democratic sweep of 40 seats." Well, that'd be a big sweep now, considering how gerrymandered everything
exactly.
is. I mean, if you get a 30-20 vote
Yeah.
swap, that's a big deal now, considering how many seats are safe. But I think there are two things that need to be considered. One is, you just cited these, the only segment of the population where his popularity is improving is with African Americans.
Yeah.
Now, I don't understand what he's done.
Yeah, I don't either.
To improve his standing with Latin Americans.
Yeah.
I think that another thing, which I think is an undercurrent that you can't discount, is the fact that he is at odds with the Pope.
You're right.
I mean, I think that there's 25% of the population is Catholic. I think he depends on a lot of that support. And I think that the fact that the Pope came out this week and said you can't be pro-life and treat people the way the United States is treating
Yeah, he did.
immigrants.
Yeah.
If he continues, I mean, that's taken him on head on. I mean, so I think there's a lot of things out there that are not you can't compare it to 2018.
No, I'm sure you're right. I mean, some of the things that are happening right now in the courts, it's just so odd because the Supreme Court rendered a decision that said you can't, these federal courts can't make a blanket national pronouncement. And so now they're all specific, like, oh, we've got a federal judge in Illinois that says you can't put Texas troops in Illinois.
Yeah.
Same thing in Portland.
Right.
And then the Portland, there were two judges.
Yeah.
One judge got overruled by the Ninth Circuit, I think. Then the second judge came in and said, same thing. You're making this all up.
Yeah.
This is not a real war. And the next thing he's going to do is with that, what is it, Insurrection Act.
You can't. Well, first of all, the Supreme Court, I have to say this, their rulings on the USAID appropriation, where there was an appropriation to basically save the lives of poor people around the world, and the president nullified an appropriation. I mean, that is completely out of the bounds of the power, and the fact that the Supreme Court upheld that is very troubling.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. We saw this. I said it last time. Was that Joe Biden couldn't do away with student loans, but Trump has done away with USAID.
Yeah, and it was basically the same law, is that they said that Biden had overstepped congressional authority.
Yeah. Let's take a little break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Keith, we ended the last segment. I think you mentioned the Trump considering the insurrection, using the Insurrection Act. And it calls to mind, as somebody has said, oftentimes accusations are admissions. And here's a guy who's been convicted of fraud for overstating the value of his property to get loans, and he's pursuing Democrats saying that they did the same thing.
Yeah.
He's someone who was indicted for mishandling of classified information, and found it in his bathroom and everything. And they raided poor old John Bolton's house for the same thing. They're indicting him for the same thing.
We haven't heard much about that, though.
The idea that this guy would consider the Insurrection Act when he led an insurrection.
Well, there's no doubt about that.
It's astounding.
Yeah.
And I think those dots need to be connected.
Well,
And
I think that everything they put out is what they're doing.
right.
It's like the Democrats are doing this. Well, that's what they're doing.
Oh yeah,
You know,
the,
I
the
mean,
accusations are admissions, and I'm sorry. You know, who we haven't seen enough of is his cousin. He's a psychologist.
The cousin, he has a cousin that's a psychologist.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, and she has been on a lot to kind of explain the pathology of his emotional problems, and we really need her to come back on now. We have, we haven't heard it, but the idea that all these things that he's accusing people of are the identical. I mean, the identical things that he's done.
He's ramping it up too. I mean, he's got Comey, which how many did they have to fire to eventually find somebody, and then she has nobody to actually do the case because she doesn't know what she's doing.
Right, she's doing it herself, and she's never tried a case.
Never tried a case. But then then he put out on his Truth Social that he thought was going to Pam Bondi, but it went out to the public, and basically it said, "Hey, go after Letitia James, go after Schiff, Senator Schiff, go after Pritzker, go after the mayor of Chicago."
I mean, that's unheard of.
And it's in a text that he put,
that
he messed up. Which I know he messes up a lot, but
that's completely unheard of. That's unprecedented, except for Nixon, who had his enemies list, and he wanted the Justice Department to go after them. And of course, he had to resign. People wouldn't put up with it.
No,
Republicans wouldn't put up with it.
That's why he had to resign. The Republicans forced him out.
Yeah, I mean, and it was Republicans that went to Nixon and told him it was time to resign.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those Republicans aren't around today.
No, they're not. And this is it's such a reality show, and now some of the press is starting to call that out with these people cosplaying. They're dressing up, and then this whole thing is what it looks like. The fact that they're throwing smoke bombs and tear gas when there's nobody there protesting, just to make it look like it's a war scene.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like on television.
Yeah.
And he's very good at that. I mean, he is, he's very good. I think in a previous podcast I said I never saw The Apprentice. I never did. But he's very good at these reality shows.
He is.
And this is a huge reality
I think
show.
he's an idiot savant.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fabulous with politics and clueless with government.
Yeah, he doesn't know. Yeah.
I mean, he really doesn't. I mean, he really doesn't understand.
And if you look at his office, I mean, I feel so sorry for America. He's like, he brings all these leaders, world leaders in, and he talks about the 24 karat gold. And then people take a picture of it and go to Target and say, well, this is the same thing at Target. And maybe he put a little gold leaf on it. I don't know. But just the idea that the whole thing looks like nouveau riche.
They've all, on hot mics, they've caught them all laughing at him.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a complete buffoon.
Yeah.
As far as on the international stage, he's so...
Oh, yeah, there's no respect.
There's no respect.
But, then he says, we're back to being respected by the world. There was something that happened maybe today with regard to Israel and Hamas that allegedly the first thing has been agreed upon to where they're going to do a prisoner swap.
Right.
Hostages for prisoners. I think there were 250 prisoners that were in jail for life in Israel, Palestinian prisoners, and another 1,200 or so, or 1,700. There's a couple of thousand Palestinians in Israeli jails are going to be let go, and Hamas is going to turn over the 20 hostages that are alive and the 28 hostages that that are unalive. It's an interesting thing, unalive. They don't call them dead anymore. They call them unalive. Anybody, it's like, oh, they're unalive. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, there's just all kinds of stuff going. Did you see the Trump post where he had an AI video about a med bed?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Well, the med bed you lie in And if you have an arm that got cut off, it regrows.
Oh,
your arm.
yeah, I heard. Yeah, and Democrats won't share that with Republicans. I heard.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I mean, I saw it, and it was like, whoa, you got to be kidding. He's promoting that?
The med bed is something that Democrats have developed and won't share.
Oh, is that what it is?
I've heard that. I mean, I've heard that. And that's just more of causing disunity. I mean, that's demonizing the other side. It's exactly what you don't need now. I mean, people. There are groups that are trying to heal the divide, and you've got this guy who will fan it, do everything he can for his own.
Well, and they're all saying, "Oh, you need to, take the temperature down," and still he's calling people Nazis, and he called Democrats Satanists. That they were Satan.
It's interesting to me, Keith. We were talking about this in the last segment about this not being the same as 2018, and one of the things, and this is really unprecedented in the last 20 years. Is that the party in power is being accused of the shutdown. Most Americans don't believe that the Democrats are to blame for the government shutdown.
Right.
That's a first. I mean, when the Democrats were in control and the Republicans were causing the shutdown, everybody said it was because of the Republicans. People now believe, even though it's the Democrats that won't vote to raise the debt limit, they all still believe it's the Republicans, and it is, of course.
Well, of course it is.
But things are just not the same as they were in 2018.
Yeah, it's I don't know. There's just so much going on. The Supreme Court is back in session, and they've got a lot of things that they're looking at, and they're unprecedented amount of the emergency docket where they don't have to explain anything. They just vote and it's over. Of course, we're at the beginning of it now, but it was interesting to see that he's been trying to put different personal attorneys in as United States attorneys, and they've been blocking them. For instance, in the court disqualified Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in Nevada from overseeing multiple criminal cases. The judge says that former Trump lawyer Elena Haba, who has great lips, I know she uses, anyway, has been unlawfully serving as U.S. attorney in New Jersey.
Right.
The White House withdrew E.J. Antoni, the nomination to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Yeah.
He fires a woman, and
now we're not getting them.
We're not getting them because we got a shutdown.
We got a shutdown, yeah.
It's just the other thing that's happening right now is he's saying that any Democrat areas he's not going to fund projects that have been approved by Congress.
Right.
New Jersey has this big project.
Chicago, New York City,
San Francisco. They're cutting out all the blue areas.
And of course, the Supreme Court, in its rulings dealing with USAID, which was appropriated money, has apparently opened the door and allowed this to happen, which is dangerous.
One of the interesting things about now they're talking about economic secession. Before the blue states are saying, hey, you don't want to give us money? We're not going to give you our tax money.
Which is interesting in considering Trump is cutting the IRS.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty much laid off thousands in enforcement people with the IRS. Of course, I think with the idea, this is just my opinion, to help big business not be audited as much, but the effect could be that they're not going to audit blue state taxpayers.
Yeah. And, the other thing is talking about what's happening with the major news organizations, that they're being bought by the oligarchs.
Yep.
I mean, I see this as, Putin and Russia after the fall of the USSR. The oligarchs.
So what's your take on CBS? What's happening with their new...
With CBS, what's the guy's name? Is he the head of Oracle? Is he the one who's...
But they have a new director, I think.
The woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's a little.
She's a friend. She's an ally of Trump.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you wonder what's happening there.
I don't know, but that's in a state of transition. But the transition is to the negative on all of these major, the major news organizations. And cable's one thing. I don't have cable, so I don't watch CNN or MSNBC. But I do have an antenna, and I can pull up ABC, CBS, NBC, and those are being
But I agree.
taken over by MAGA.
Well, that's one of the great things about the free enterprise system is it's gonna force other, that's gonna bubble up in another way.
Well, there was an interesting thing on Disney reportedly lost $1.7 million paid subscribers in the week after suspending Jimmy Kimmel. I canceled my Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
I still have it canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'll get Hulu again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think Netflix.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Oh, you mean 1.7 million? That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. I don't even know what a Disney subscription is because I don't have one.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to take another break, and we'll be back shortly. We're back. Hello, America. I was just thinking, Edward, that personally, I'm a little depressed about what's going on. I just see such negative. The country is stuck, and it's stuck because of this guy who's, trying to control everything. And, I see what the Congress is doing, and it's depressing. It really is depressing. And I don't know how to get out of that other than to do what I'm doing right now, which is a podcast.
I'm more alarmed than I am depressed. I feel confident in the fact that we have a government that was pretty much put in place by voters, which is a complete failure, and that we have a court that is not doing anything to protect us from our Constitution, from that. But we have people that are doing things that have never been done. We've got the Democrats haven't lost a special election in 2 years.
No, I know.
I feel like the people, when you look at the No Kings rallies that went on, you look at the fact that the ICE people and the federal troops can't get an indictment in LA or DC, and I think that's going to be the case in other cities. The people seem to be stepping forward to be doing. Look at us. When's the last time you and I did a podcast together? Everybody seems to be looking for ways. And I was just mentioning to you, my sister, Becky, she's with a group of people that are writing letters to voters in Pennsylvania about the Supreme Court elections. The people are motivated. They're doing things, and just because the polls show the Democratic Party's not held in high repute, hell, I don't hold the Democratic Party in high repute.
I totally agree with you.
I'm not so sure I'm not going to leave the Democratic Party.
I've thought about it.
And so I'm not, I don't take the weather, the political weather signals to mean what they would traditionally maybe mean, because this isn't a traditional time.
No, it's definitely not.
And I don't think, I think you're going to continue to see off-year elections, special elections go Democrat. You've got districts that went for Trump by 10, 15 points are going Democrat by 10 and 15 points.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have this frantic need to redistrict everything.
Right.
If there was any confidence
Right.
that they were in good shape.
Right.
I think their pollsters know what's going on, and I think this is an unprecedented, desperate move to start gerrymandering districts and calling special sessions of dummy legislatures. Basically shadow of Trump legislatures to come in and redistrict. Look, I was in the legislature. If I had a president call the legislature up to go into a special session to redistrict for what he wants, it would have been laughable. And
it's not in Texas.
No, it's not in Texas. But look what it's calling to. It's calling the California people up. It's calling the Maryland people up.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to see in Illinois. I mean, it's unfortunate that this is happening, but I think people are meeting the challenge. I am not betting against the American people.
I hope you're right. My issue is that the Supreme Court seems to have been giving him a lot of power, and the concern is right now, and I've heard it from a lot of different people on podcasts and on television, that he's trying to put the troops on the ground. He's trying to show that they need to be there, and in a year they're going to be at the polling places. And was it 2020 where he wanted to send the military in to capture all the ballots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that maybe he's going to get that done. And I'm wondering, how the military how much they're going to follow, and if there's going to be any pushback with some of these militaries. I think it was in Illinois where the governor said he was going to deploy the military to protect the protesters. I haven't seen much on that. That would be interesting to see.
I've seen small towns turn out to protect beloved immigrant citizens from being taken away.
Yeah, they did. I mean, there was that one woman in Lakeview in New Orleans that the neighbors called Steve Scalise, and he got her released.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is...
But not everybody has that connection. And, some of these poor people who are working at, going to Home Depot to get a job so that they can feed their family, and this whole issue with the shutdown, I think it was Ronald Reagan who signed the bill that said, if somebody goes to the emergency room has to treat them. Of course, that would be a Christian country. And somebody's going to pay for that. Mm-hmm. If it's us, if they're uninsured, and it's everybody, well, that's a form of socialism. And Ronald Reagan helped pass that law. So now what they're saying is that, we want to take immigrants' ability to go to an emergency room, we want to take that away from them. We don't want them to go to emergency rooms. If they have a disease, go ahead and spread it. Go ahead and die. That's the attitude. And it, I can see where the Pope is saying, well, that's just not.
It's not pro-life.
Pro-life.
No.
The pro-life is only about abortion, because a lot of those people who are against abortion are for capital punishment. And there was that one guy, I think Charlie Kirk, he promoted having public executions and having children be able to watch public executions. And that just doesn't seem like a very Christian thing to do.
No, Charlie Kirk was a mess.
He was a mess.
He was taking the Fifth Amendment on the January 6th insurrection.
Yeah.
To take the Fifth Amendment, you have to believe there was a crime committed. You don't take the Fifth Amendment unless you believe there was some sort of crime.
Yeah.
So, in taking the Fifth Amendment, he admitted that there was a crime going on, and he also suggested he might have been involved in it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping that we get some good rulings out of the Supreme Court coming out of this term that will kind of offset some of the issues that we're having, and that, and people consider. It was interesting. I saw there was some training being done in, I think, Portland, might have been Chicago, where they had people training protesters on how to protest. Keep an arm's length from the ice, put your phone to horizontal, narrate it as you're going through it. And they were telling people how to protest. They're not telling people how to firebomb a South Carolina judge's house.
Kate, and I know we need to wrap this up, but I just hope that our next podcast, we're talking about the Epstein files and what's been released. That's
a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I see Michael Wolff. I think it's Michael Wolff. who wrote Fire and Fury, which was one of Trump's, maybe his autobiography. And he says that he has seen photographs, maybe Polaroids, that Epstein put out on his table with Trump in compromising situations with, he didn't say how old the women were, but they were naked.
Well, yeah. I mean,
And they asked Pam Bondi that, and she refused to say no.
Well, I just, since you brought up Pam Bondi,
Pam Bondi.
and we referred to her as Pam Blondie, and I've gotten a little blowback from one of our listeners on that,
I can understand that.
who believed that was critical of us referring to her that way, because the listener happened to be a lady. Didn't believe she really is a blondie.
Ouch.
So, but I think we're not gonna be deterred from making those kinds of statements, and I'm going to refer to her as Pam Blondie.
Well,
I don't know about you.
Pam Blondie is the least liked of anybody on the cabinet, from what I'm reading. They don't like her, and they don't like her because of her 180 on Epstein. And Epstein needs to keep in there. We need to get this young woman from Arizona sworn in. We got another week of vacation. Those guys in the house, Mike takes a lot of vacation.
The Epstein shutdown, I think,
That's the Epstein shutdown.
is going to hopefully end. And this is a prediction from me.
Okay.
You heard it first on
Porch
Porch
Podcast.
Podcast. Jeffrey Epstein is going to be Time Magazine's Man of the Year.
We can only hope. All right, look, if you want to get on, if you want to be on a Porch Podcast, send us a note, aporchpodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to have you on. If you want to just send us a request or comment, that's the same place. And the days are getting shorter. So we started this podcast, it was light out, and now it's dark.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, that
We would hope it was the other way around.
we're hoping that the world turns light. Because right now it's in a mess.
Yeah.
So thank you. We'll see you next time. That beautiful music is Zach Villery. Check him out on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your music.